Good day. It looks like we are live here. So welcome to our next session in uranium. We're joined here today by CEO Jon Bey and Sean Hilliker of Standard Uranium. They're focusing on the flagship Davidson River Uranium Project in the Athabasca Basin. Jon, why don't you tell us your story?
Hey, thanks a lot, Joe. And thank you everyone for taking the time to listen to us tell our story about Standard Uranium. We've got a quick presentation we're going to give, then we're going to open it up for questions. So let's take you through the slide deck here. So first of all, a legal disclaimer. We're going to be making some forward-looking statements today. So at your leisure, please come back and read this legal disclaimer. And we'll start a bit with the macro story. I think those of you who follow the uranium space are quite aware of what's going on. Outside the spot price moving, it's actually gone down the last couple months. We are seeing a lot of moves in the equities. So we're seeing bipartisan support from the U.S. government, which is fantastic. Nuclear is now being picked up as part of the ESG movement. We're seeing institutional funds start to come into this space, and there's been some fantastic financings over the last few weeks. So we're really starting to see the uranium space and the macro story for nuclear really pick up, which is great. Now, when the spot price actually starts to move and long-term contracts start to get signed, that'll be the next big jump for the uranium space. So stay tuned for that. Taking a look at Standard specifically, here's a look at the map of Canada, Saskatchewan, the Athabasca Basin. You can see our three main projects there. So we are a Canadian junior uranium exploration company. We're focused in the Athabasca Basin with our flagship project being the Davidson River Project in the Southwest. And our main goal here is to make a high-grade uranium discovery in the Athabasca Basin and make that in the immediate future. And we're doing that right now with an exploration program going on at our Davidson River Project. I want to also point out that on this presentation today is our geologist, Sean Hilliker. He's going to be walking us through the technical sides of our slides and available to answer questions specifically about our phase 2 program at the Davidson River right now. So this slide gives you a snapshot. It shows an image of the southwest corner of the Athabasca Basin. We took our company public last year. In May, we went public at a valuation of roughly $5 million. We completed 2 public listings led by Red Cloud. We raised $4.5 million, and then we did our exploration program, the first one on the Davidson River Project in last summer. And then we followed that up with a $3.4 million raise. We wanted to complete the end of 2020 being fully permitted and fully funded, and we managed to achieve those goals. So excellent position for us to start 2021 with our phase 2 drill program at Davidson River. I'll talk about our team and why our team is specifically built to make a discovery in this region, and our short-term catalysts, our Davidson River drill program now and again in the summer coming up. We're going to be going to our Sundog project and doing some more work there. Sean will speak to that in our technical slides. And also we want to finish the year fully financed again. So we'll get to that towards the end of the presentation. This is a slide sort of showing you the Lassonde curve. The Lassonde curve talks about the different phases in a mining or exploration company cycle. We are right at the start of the speculation phase. That is, we are pre-discovery, which is an excellent opportunity for investors to invest with us right now. To start of the speculation phase, when we look at some of our peers who were in this phase, in this specific region, where they were share price wise prior to their discoveries, we often compare ourselves or compared to where NextGen was or where Fission was. I mean, their share prices were in the 10 to 20 cent range pre-discovery, and now you look at they're up. I think NextGen's over $5 right now after just raising another 150 million, which is amazing. And we're really proud to be next door to those guys. I mean, we're not just an area play, we are also right on the same conductor, which hosts those Spitfire, Arrow, and Triple R. So we'll talk more about that when we get into our technical slides. We are also doing our exploration right now during the start of a great bull market for uranium, unlike NextGen and Fission, who made their discoveries in bear markets. So another great point to point out. And we are putting a lot of time and energy into our marketing and IR programs. And I hope some of you have taken the time to follow us on Twitter or looked at our website or on YouTube and seen some of the videos we've been putting out, sort of showing what goes on at a drill program. Our board of directors and our management team, I want to draw your attention to this specifically to look at the fact that we built this company specifically to make a discovery in the southwest corner of the Athabasca Basin. We built our team with guys who've been there, who've made discoveries in this region. Neil McCallum has been exploration uranium geologist in this region for 15 plus years, specifically working with the DeRouge team. Garrett Ainsworth joined our team back in 2018 after leaving NextGen Energy. Prior to that, he was with Alpha. Garrett was a geologist that made the discovery of the radioactive boulders, which led to the Triple R discovery. Garrett then went over and worked with NextGen and spent several years working with them as their VP of Exploration on the Arrow project. So he knows that project exceptionally well. We also added Galen McNamara from NextGen, and most recently, Sean Hilliker came to us last summer after spending 5 years with NextGen doing his master's degree on the Arrow deposit. So we know these rocks as good as anybody in this region. Also on our management team and board, we have Blair Jordan, who comes to us. He's an ex-banker and lawyer and capital market specialist. And Ken Judge joined our board last year. Ken is an M&A specialist and lawyer as well. So those guys add nice value on the capital market side. I also want to add, we've added Lori Thomas to our team as our VP of Exploration. VP of Investor Relations. Lori comes to us from several years of 10 plus years with Cameco and a few years recently with UEX. So it's great to have Lori involved on our team now as well going forward. I always screw that up saying exploration. So here's a quick picture of the Southwest Uranium District in the Southwest corner. You can see all the companies that are around us, all the majors that you'd know of, and then we are right there in the blue in the Southwest corner. What's important on this slide, it really shows you how much exploration and how much drilling has been done in this region. And prior to our exploration program last summer on Davidson, there hadn't been a single hole on this project. And there's a long story about that I can get into during the question and answer if anyone's interested. I'm going to pass this over to Sean Hilliker as we go on to slide 10. He can tell you about the Clearwater domain mirror theory and what we're doing with our current drill program and why this is important. So Sean, over to you.
All right, thanks, John. So what we were trying to kind of prove out on the Davidson River project, as John kind of alluded to, that we have several conductors on that property, one of which that we refer to as the Warrior Corridor, we believe right now is the continuation of the uranium fertile Patterson Lake Corridor. So it bends around this large scale crustal structure, as you can kind of see by the gray lines on the map there. So it twists around through the Clearwater domain and up to the northwest through our property. So with our phase 1 drill program, we wanted to kind of prove out this Clearwater domain mirror theory, as we refer to it, by testing the basement rocks, looking for major structures that look similar to those that lie along the Patterson Lake corridor, similar rock types, and obviously favorable alteration phases and mineralogy for hosting high-grade uranium. So we drilled 13 holes in about 5,600 meters during our phase 1 program last summer, and had multiple holes that intersected some large scale structures in the basement, and as well as some local alterations. So if we switch to the next slide, we can get into the details of that. So this map shows kind of an overlay of the different targeting vectors that we used for our phase 1 drill program on Davidson River. You can see that there's the 4 main conductive corridors on the property: the St. Trend, Warrior, Bronco, and Thunderbird trends. So our focus was that main Warrior trend during phase 1 to kind of prove out that Clearwater domain mirror theory. We drilled 13 holes in some drill fences and a long strike of that conductor. And this slide just shows those different criteria that we overlap to find the best uranium targets on the property. So we're looking for electromagnetic bright spots that coincide with cross-cutting structures, which we can infer from magnetics, as well as both ZTEM and VTEM electromagnetic surveys to identify breaks and bends in those conductive rock packages. So exploring in the Athabasca Basin, as many of you probably know, a lot of these are blind deposits. We don't have basement rocks or lots of times mineralization at surface. So we use these different geophysical tools to create an overlay and kind of see through all that Athabasca cover, and especially when you're looking for high-grade basement hosted uranium, which is our focus on the Davidson River project. So looking for the same things that the NextGens and Fissions in the corner here have been exploring for and having success with. So like I said, we drilled 5,600 meters in 13 drill holes along the Warrior trend. We finished that up in late September last year and got our assay results back after that. Identified several zones worth following up on. So we refined our drill targets along the Warrior trend for phase 2, which is currently in progress right now as we speak. So as I mentioned, we found several zones of structural disturbance in the basement rocks, which is great to see. These are the sites that basically open up and create these fluid highways in the rocks that these uranium-bearing fluids can come up and travel through and precipitate a high-grade uranium deposit. So we had a refined toolkit going into phase 2, looking at following up on these structural zones. And so on this slide, number 13, you can see some of our phase 2 target zones along the Warrior Trend, based on our anomalous geochem, lead isotopes, and major structure zones that we intersected. So with the Skyline target area on the Warrior Trend, we're following up on major structures that we intersected in holes number 9 and number 11. Lots of brittle reactivation and reuse of these structures. So that's a really important thing that we're looking at. We want these deep-seated crustal scale structures that have been reused and reactivated over geological time to allow, plenty of time and the chemical conditions to make a uranium deposit. So that's what we're following up in our Skyline target area. And then our Meadow target area, we had a uranium anomaly in the Meadow Lake Formation sandstones. We're following up on that. And then our Levy target area is designed to test the eastern edge of the Warrior conductor. So if you look at the Patterson Lake conductor, Arrow lies on one edge of it and Triple R lies on the other edge. So testing the edges where you get these soft rocks against the hard rocks and these rheology contrasts is very important. So excited to drill that as well. And not only that, but we're also going to step out to our Saint Trend and drill some holes there this winter. And then, as John mentioned, we're going to go back and split up the program into another phase during the summer, going back with the helicopter across the river and testing those good looking zones on our Bronco Trend. So we have about a few minutes left here. Okay, so moving on to our Dog Uranium Project in the northwestern Athabasca Basin. This area has been explored in the past, but not for the last 30 to 40 years, not to mention without any sort of, recent or new cutting edge technology or understanding of the types of uranium deposits that we're looking for. So we're not looking for the classic Beaver Lodge or Gunner style low-grade basement-hosted deposits here. We're searching for those high-grade Athabasca style unconformity-related uranium deposits. So we do have mineralization at surface on Sundog, off-scale mineralization. We sent a crew up there just last year as well to kind of prove out some of these historical results there. We had grades of up to just over 3.5% come back from some of these target areas that you can see identified on the map. And there's actually a historic resource done on Stewart Island as well in the area. So some nice visible secondary uranium oxides at surface in the sandstone. So our exploration strategy for these target areas is following up on the mineralization in the sandstone and searching for those high-grade basement roots of the system. So it's great to have mineralization perched up in the sandstone, but we're going to use our new exploration techniques and modern understanding of these types of deposits to follow up on that and hopefully make a high-grade discovery up here as well. And I will also mention that we just received our permits for the Sundog for some work we're going to do this year. We're going to run some gravity to further refine our drill targets for that as well. So then moving over into the Eastern Basin, we have 3 different project areas on the eastern side of the Athabasca Basin along that northeast trending, trend of all the high-grade deposits on the east side. This area has been heavily explored over the years. You can see all the blue drill holes on the map there along the purple conductive packages. So drilling kind of drops off to the northeast where our properties are. We have 3 different ones, Atlantic, Canary, and Ascent. And you can also notice that IsoEnergy's Hurricane uranium zone that they're developing is pretty close by there as well. So not as many drill holes up in these areas. Shallow geophysical targets. We have conductors, we have lake sediment, uranium, and pathfinder anomalies. Lots of great things to follow up on and not much drilling. So we plan on getting these all permitted up and running through our consultation process and getting these ready for work in the next year or so.
Great. And I'm going to hop back in here, Sean, and take us through the last few corporate slides. So right now we are trading on the TSX Venture, symbol STND. We did our listing on the OTC in January, and we're also trading in Frankfurt. We've got 92.7 million shares out, 130 fully diluted, a market cap just under 20 million today. And on the strategic shareholder slide at the bottom there, I want to point out a few key names. Mike Alkin and Station Cove came in our first capital raise in 2018, and they've been shareholders ever since. And L2 Capital, Marcelo Lopez came in 2019, as did Guy Keller and Tribeca Investment Partners. And there's several other uranium funds and hedge funds that have been joining us in the last few raises as well. And we anticipate continuing to grow that as we get larger into a higher market cap. Corporate information as far as our volume trading. So we're now trading over 1 million shares a day. We have been doing that for the last month. Those numbers are pretty staggering. We opened went public at 15 cents. We're around 20 cents right now. We went up as high as 36 during our summer drill program. And just starting this program, we anticipate we should see our share price continue to move up with the peers. And when spot price moves again, we anticipate that'll be fantastic for our company. So I'm going to take you to the final slide, which is a summary, just recaps all the things we've talked about in this quick presentation. And then I'm going to open it back up to Joe, who's jumped back on for any questions over the last 2 or 3 minutes here. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, guys, just jumping right into Q&A. Great prezzo. So some inbounds here, mainly on geophysical surveys on the Davidson.
Sure.
Are there any specific methods that you guys prefer or find that tend to be a bit more effective?
Sure, I'll let Sean take that.
That's a good question. I mean, there's the uranium geologist toolbox consists of, kind of the main surveys that we would use, include electromagnetics. So an important thing for these uranium deposits, they're often associated with conductors. So like I mentioned too, we're looking for these really deep-seated ones that are long-lived and reused and contain graphite or sulfide. So that's what makes them conductive, and that creates the right chemical environment to interact with oxidized fluids and drop out uranium. So electromagnetics are a big one, looking for conductors. We have lots of conductors, as you can see, on the Davidson River property, which is great. Not only that, but where these things kind of bifurcate and get offset and cross-cut by other structures. Structure is clearly a key component of the whole story. And not only that, but gravity. Gravity can be an indication of alteration in the basement rocks. Gravity lows coincident with a good break in an electromagnetic target is a fantastic uranium target as well. And just we're looking for these conductive rocks with electromagnetic bright spots, and where these things might change dip direction. So you essentially bend this thing and open it up, and we can tell that based on the survey and the response. So those would be my favorites, and probably, kind of across the board, the most common ones that uranium geos use.
That's great. Thanks for that. Just on the current drill program, when do you anticipate that to complete? And there's an inbound here related to that program on what the current indications of that drilling are looking like. I understand you guys have recently started, but any commentary on what the core looks like at this time?
Sure. Well, we can't comment on what the core is like, obviously, until we put out a news release and give you more details on that. I can tell you that we're into holes 3 and 4 of this 9-hole program. We started on February 8th. We anticipate wrapping up towards the end of March into early April. And then from that point, the core all gets shipped to our Saskatchewan Research Council, the assay labs, and it's usually 4 to 6 weeks before we get the assay results back. So that's sort of the timeline we're looking at.
Perfect. And maybe one last one for me, maybe just speaking to the potential of a basement hosted deposit here, what that really means, and how does that augment, a number of the on-conformity style resources that are already identified in the basin?
Sure. So we quite often, get looked at when we're in the same region, obviously, of next gen and fission, and we're on that same conductive trend. So we feel it's quite promising that we could be making a discovery similar to those. And if you look at the map that sort of shows the southwest corner, this region here, I mean, our standard uranium Davidson River project is, it's 25,000 hectares, and that conductor runs right through there. It's about 12 kilometers in length, which would encapsulate the Spitfire, the Arrow, and the Triple R deposit onto our project. So there's huge potential on our project, and we anticipate, getting into and making a uranium discovery, and we could make several here. So obviously that's forward-looking and blue sky, but there is huge potential to make a basement-hosted high-grade uranium discovery on this project.
That's perfect. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the time. That's all the time that we have. Thank you, Jon and Sean, for sharing your story.